Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Everywhere you go, your manners are with you, and they leave their mark. They help you feel sure of yourself, too, and they make an impression on people.
Demonstrators wreaked havoc in Washington, D.C. and destroyed storefront windows.
It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation.
Make political commitments to curb population growth.
We didn't simulate this. We didn't practice.
What the hell do they let the reporters in there for?
MK Ultra.
8 million adults are affected by it.
Don't try it.
There will be no outcome that leaves Saddam Hussein in power.
A brand new group called ISIL.
We're speeding up training of ISIL forces.
The one person who wasn't random was the security guard.
America was founded as a constitutional republic.
Kick the incumbents out. Send citizens to Washington.
I will totally obliterate the deep state. We will obliterate the deep state.
All right, welcome to another episode of Altered State. Zach, how you doing, brother?
Brad, I'm doing well, brother. How about you?
Great to hear. I'm also doing well. I am pumped up. I'm back home in Jersey. I'm ready to...
Wait, back home in Jersey or back home in Alaska?
Back home in Alaska. And ready to kick the info war in the ass if I could just get it clear where I am.
That's awesome. So, you know what I always think about when the intro is playing? Did you ever see the original Pee-wee's Playhouse on HBO like years ago? Like, would have been when we were little kids.
Yes. I mean, not live, but I saw a replay of it many years ago.
Sure.
And,
so, do you remember the Mr. Bungle segment where he played that 1950s like manners video? It's like, nobody wants to be a Mr. Bungle. Oh. And he's like, it's like this... it's like an instructional video they would show kids in school. Yeah. Yes. Anyways, I always think about that because she's talking about manners in the introduction.
Gotta have manners. I love watching those old time videos. It's funny because there was actually propaganda on how to be a good person back in the 50s and 60s. And like for a tiny modicum of time, they tried to use TV for good. Mm-hmm. And then it all went downhill. Now there's propaganda for the worst kind.
Yeah. Now there's Megan Thee Stallion rapping about her fat pootie tang on stage at Kamala Harris rallies.
Yes. Yeah. Very classy.
So classy.
I was in so speaking about being home in Jersey, we were in some store, and I don't know what this song is. I don't know what it was, but there was a song where I was just kind of listening to the lyrics, and it was clearly about, the deed, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I didn't make a big deal of it. I was there with the stepkids, right? I didn't want to say no, but I just was sitting there thinking to myself, what a world that we live in, that you're in a public area, and they were just playing the radio, whatever radio station it was just playing that over the radio. And there's songs about that. Like, if this was the 1960s and my grandparents were in that store, I think my grandfather would grab a hammer and go attack someone. It's such a different time right now. That it's just saturated. The whole world is saturated with craziness.
Can you imagine, like, the first time Sugar Sugar played on the radio and parents were like, oh, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're letting this on the radio.
Now that's like wholesome goodness.
I know, right? Like the insinuation. Like, oh my God, there's no insinuations being made nowadays. It's just like flat out. We're just going to tell you what's up.
Ah, man.
I remember CNC Music Factory when he was like, it's your world and I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt. And my dad was like, what? He was like, what? And I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, what? Don't you hear that? I was like 12. So I had no idea.
That's why you almost don't want to say anything, right? Because it's almost like, well, I don't want to be the one who breaks it to you what this is either.
Too funny.
I think the only album I ever got in trouble with from my dad was I got White Zombie, La Sexorcisto, Devil Music Volume 1 or whatever it's called. And I remember my brother ratted me out. My dad was like, "You're listening to devil music?" I was like, "It's just the name of the title. I don't know."
Not my boy.
That's the only one I ever got in trouble with.
Cybermark says Barry White was risque. You want to hear some risque R&B, good old classic soul?
Yeah.
Clarence Carter.
Clarence Carter. Okay.
Yes, yes. Maybe we should play some Clarence Carter tonight.
I would love to have my musical palette expanded.
I will send you the best Clarence Carter song that there is. Oh
my God. Someone says Barry White's music is awesome. All I know is just that one song. So let's get it on. Is that Barry White? I don't know.
Okay. I don't know that I've ever actually seen this video, but let me
just by this reaction alone, I need to see it.
Okay, hold on. This is actually pretty tame by today's standards, but you know, just comparing it to Barry White, it's even risky compared to Barry White. Okay. Okay, and there you go. Okay, you got it pulled up. Here we are.
When I start making love, I don't just make love, I be stroking. That's what I be doing. I be stroking. I stroke it to the east, and I stroke it to the west. I stroke it to the woman that I love the best. I be stroking.
That's what I be doing.
Let me ask you something. What time of the day do you like to make love?
I love just regular talking and music.
Made love just
like
before
David Lee
breakfast.
Roth coined it. It was classic.
Have you ever made love while you watch the Late Late Show? Well, let me ask you this.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever made love on a couch? Well, let me ask you this.
Getting crazy on a couch.
Have you ever made love on the back seat of a car? Woo! I remember one time I made love on the back seat of a car, and the police came and shined his light on me, and I said, "I'm stroking." That's what I'm doing. I be stroking. I stroke it to the east, and I stroke it to the west. I stroke it
Things have gotten so far that this is
I love the best.
pain.
I be stroking.
And I'm sure people were losing their mind in 1986 over it.
Probably, bro. This was. It must have been like one of the earliest MTV music videos. Like, I remember like Taco putting on the Ritz as a little kid, like seeing that video, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." You know,
yeah,
just like or Aha, Take on Me. That was a good one.
Oh, right, because that was very artsy. And
yes.
Like, what they're part in the art and stuff.
Yes, that was so good. That was so good. Anyways, we used to listen to Clarence Carter stroking in high school and just like thought it was the funniest thing. There's this other guy.
Hilarious.
There's this other guy called Wesley Willis. You know who Wesley Willis is?
The Rock and Roll McDonald's?
Yeah, Rock and Roll McDonald's. Okay. All right.
Classic.
So Wesley Willis was a dude with schizophrenia from Chicago, and he was homeless, and he would make his own CDs, like with a Casio keyboard. He would do loops, and it basically, like, oftentimes it was like 5 samples that he would just play continuously, and then he would rap over it. But then at a certain point, some like real life musicians got together. They went and found him on Skid Row in Chicago, and they were like, "We want to make you a real rock star." And then so they put together a band called Wesley Willis, the Wesley Willis Fiasco, and they did like a studio album, a couple of studio albums, and then they toured. And we went and saw Wesley Willis in concert. And you know, I was in high school. I did not know what to expect because we didn't know. There was no internet. It was like, is this guy really as crazy as he sounds, or are we going to get there and it's going to be an act? It's not. It wasn't an act. Like, we got there, and he was just as nuts as he appeared to be on the CDs. And he had this like permanent bump in the middle of his forehead because he had a habit of headbutting people. And like we went up to him and like, you know, we were in high school. We were having a wild night, let me tell you. And so we had to drive like all the way to Grand Rapids, and we got lost, and like the cops pulled us over, and they actually like gave us a police escort to the club. So I think it was the Magic Stick. Yeah. Oh my God. We were like, we're going to jail. But no, they gave us an escort. And so we get to the Magic Stick, we park, we go inside, and Wesley Willis is right there, right after you get your ticket to go into the show. He's selling his own homemade CDs, like CDs that you couldn't get online. You could only get them like special compilations. And so I walk up to him and I'm like, what's going on, dude? And he's like totally out of it. Like, I don't know how they got this guy on stage or like, you know, even pulled this stuff off. But he was like, you know, you want to buy a CD? It's 1 for 10, 2 for 20. And I was like, I've got $20. And he was like, here's 2. And I was like, I guess I don't need change. And then he leans across the table and he grabs the back of my head and he straight headbutts me. And I was just like, I can't believe that just happened. And then
you got hold on, you got headbutted by Wesley Willis.
I got headbutted by Wesley Willis, yes. And then then so it's time for the concert to start, and he's having like a bit of a freak out, and his band had to convince him to come out on stage. Okay. And like it was a good 40 minutes of like trying to get him out on stage. And then as soon as he did, it's like he just stepped right up to the mic and was just like, you know, you know the lyrics to some of these songs, you know. I can't even say them on the show, but he just stepped right into it. It was like all of a sudden he was like in rock star mode, and like the band just starts going, and they were hard and heavy, and it was hilarious. It was so good. And I just, oh man, it was something I will never forget. And Wesley Willis,
beautiful moment, Zach.
Yes, it was a beautiful moment. And God rest Wesley Willis's soul, because he's no longer with us.
I tried playing Rock and Roll McDonald's for my stepson literally last week, and
oh wow,
it kind of went over his head a little. He was like, "Is this guy okay?" I'm like, "You'll get it one day." I love seeing a special brand of crazy in person. I guess the closest I ever got to seeing something so nuts was Guar, but obviously you knew that that's the shtick. It was not real crazy, but it was every bit as awesome as I thought it was going to be. But
I've seen Guar in concert, and I'm like friends with Sleazy P. Martini.
Are you serious?
I've had him on the show before. His name is Don Draculich. He is a trip in person, and
they're funny as shit, man.
Oh my God, they are hilarious. Yeah. You got to understand that it's all an act, and like they were like special effects people before, and they were like, let's just turn this into a band, and so they did. But he's not friends with the other guys because like he's conservative and they're not. And really? A couple of them have even died, you know. I mean, but yeah,
I know the lead singer. Yeah, I forget his name right now.
Odorous Rungus.
Yeah,
he's Odorous, gone. Yeah, Odorous is gone. But Sleazy's he's got a pill channel, and he's got a Twitch channel, and he streams.
God bless 2024, man.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
All right, hey, and you guys, I can see people are talking about it in the chat. We've got just 2 weeks to go to GART 5 in Deadwood, South Dakota. So you better have your in-person tickets, because if you don't, they're sold out, I'm pretty sure. But there are plenty of virtual tickets, and you can go to every single day. You can go to every single event. You're also going to get invited to a virtual ticket chat room, which will allow you to chat just with other people that are watching the virtual show. Also, we're going to be there because we're also in the room, and somebody at the event is going to be monitoring that chat. So like if you're at home and you have a question and you want to ask one of the panelists, then we'll see it and we'll go ahead and bring it up and ask for you. But it's a great way to make connections with people that are also not going to be able to be there. And the chat doesn't close down, like it stays open. So like you can keep chatting in there with people. And there's been a lot of folks who have made some like actual real world friends as a result. And you may find that there is a Badlandia group in your area, and then you will be able to join because you'll get to meet other people that are part of it.
Yeah, the virtual chats have been notoriously fun. Some of you are in some of them from the last ones. You can attest to it. And just the virtual streams are fun too. This is the next best thing to go in there. And I believe it's been a few times where John will go around and film interviews, so it's more than just the panels as well.
Yeah,
and you get a little live window into some of the later festivities at times. It's definitely worth it if you can't go in person, for sure.
Yeah. PX0 wants to know if the name GART has meaning. It does. It's an acronym, and it stands for Great American Restoration Tour.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing.
This was going to be huge. A lot of, I mean, almost all of Badlands is going to be there, from what I understand. It should be a lot of fun. The panel discussions are always fun. It's cool. It's almost like a choose your own adventure Badlands panel, because you get to see people interact that they don't normally interact with. Or even say if like you and I are on the same panel, we're going to be with two others who typically aren't ever on Altered State with us. So it's just fun all around. Really like them.
So we've already come to Florida once. We had one in Cocoa Beach a couple of months back. I don't actually remember the date now. But I think the next one is going to be in North Carolina. And then I think we're going to have to go west, Brad. I mean, we haven't really gone too far west. I mean, Arizona, that was the first one, wasn't it?
Arizona. We did do California.
Oh, that's right. We did do California. Yeah.
There was a Dallas one. So it's Midwest, I guess. And now also, well, I guess it's not I don't know if it's considered Midwest, South Dakota. I don't know how that works. But I think that's in the middle of the country.
Yeah, that's pretty plainsy, like plains state. So I think that would count as Midwest. Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. Yeah, don't worry. We've told John that we need to do like a northeastern GART. And I think honestly that's the plan, because, you know, we've done, you know, kind of I guess central Florida with Cocoa Beach. And then now we're going to be doing southern United States with South Carolina. And then right after that, if we did a northeastern GART, I think that would, Myrtle Beach. Yes, then the next one is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're correct. But yes, after that, I think we're going to need to go a little bit further northeast, because there's got to be a ton of people there. I mean, there's a lot of different states in a very contained area.
Yep. Yeah. The population density in that area of the country is insane. So you can make a case, well, they're blue areas, but there's so many people that the groups that are right wingers in those areas still dwarf a lot of red states in a weird way. So take it from me, someone who moved from the most population dense state in the country to the least population dense state in the country. You can definitely do really good in New Jersey, New York area.
So you know what you guys can do? If you have like desires for specific GART locations, if you head over to the Badlands Media website, you can leave Badlands boosts on the page, because all of us from all of the shows will see the boosts because they stay on the page. And then you can say, hey, I need you to come to this state. And enough of you say like a certain area of the country, and John's going to see that, because, I mean, obviously, you know, he has a significant say in where the actual locations of these things are. And that way he'll see, and then we can make a case for you.
Absolutely. Now, our buddy Lutz Garcia here says Pennsylvania is not blue. I tend to agree. Pennsylvania, I always think of as pretty red. Obviously, Philly and Pittsburgh, the cities kind of drive sometimes some of the voting, and you have some blue senators, you have blue governor right now. Unfortunately, they're doing some work there. I think a lot of it is disingenuous as well, since obviously we've looked into the elections and a lot of screwiness going on. So I think there's some of that. But yeah, dude, for the most part, Pennsylvania, I would agree with that, is pretty red. I'm of the thought that New Jersey's red. When we were, well, first of all, last week, right, I showed you, we had made a little montage of right in the heart of Manhattan where they were selling all the Trump gear and stuff, and nothing for, I think one place had a Kamala bobblehead. That's it. And then nothing of Joe Biden and nothing else of Kamala. But in New Jersey, we're driving around, just going all around the state over the course of the couple weeks that we were there. Trump flags on people's fences, Trump flags on people's on literal flag poles. I saw one guy had a Trump flag mounted to the back of his car. there's just everywhere and nothing of anything else. No Bernie, no RFK, no Biden, no Kamala, nothing else, and no Hillary, nothing of the last however many years. Only Trump flags all over New Jersey. So we'll see what happens in 2024. But I mean, it's going to be a lot harder to steal it, I believe.
I think so too. And you have, I was just talking with somebody about this on the phone the other day. They were scared because they don't see as many like Trump flags and like banners and flotillas and parades and buses, you know. So,
okay.
Well, I mean, you know, part of it, I don't think it's because it's a lack of support or enthusiasm for Trump. I think that all of that stuff costs money. All right. And so like, how are people going to pay for that shit? They're going to have to use it out of their disposable income. A lot of people are just trying to survive right now. And like, we're just like basically eking it out to the finish line so that we can start building up a war chest again. You know, all of those Trump signs cost money, but even more than that, he only just picked JD Vance as his running mate. I can also believe that a lot of people were waiting to get a Trump sign until we knew who his running mate was going to be. So, you know, maybe now we're going to see more, but I was saying, you know, don't see, you know, the lack of public support meaning, or don't believe that the lack of public obvious support means that the support isn't there for President Trump. The support is greater than it has been at any time. If anything, I really think that it does have to do with the fact that, you know, people just are having a tough time making it right now. And that's just the way that it is. But the other part that's really important is the fact that we're going to have legal representation in the swing states and in the count rooms that matter this time. They didn't have any sort of challengers. They didn't have any lawyers. They didn't even have people watching the votes counted last time because we got kicked out. All right. And Republicans, like, man, I just, you know, it's difficult for me to look back at that because at the time I was like, what the heck are they doing? Like, how can someone allow themselves to get pushed out of the count room? People were like, oh, 6 feet back. I better stand 6 feet back. I don't want to offend somebody and have them think that I'm racist. I'm sorry, but F that. All right. Like, I don't care. Like, now everybody knows that, like, you cannot back up an inch. You cannot afford to give up any ground, because if you give up ground, they're going to push you further and further and further until they get to the point where they can cheat just like they did back in 2020. So we've got Republicans who will be watching the elections, who will be watching the count. We've got people who are not going to get bullied. We've got people who are not going to be told to stand 6 feet away. We've got people who are going to be watching this election like a hawk. And if we see something that deserves a second look or that needs to be challenged, there will be lawyers ready to ensure that our votes are being counted in a free and fair way.
Without a doubt. And I think a lot of people had their eyes open from 2020. So that's an awesome turnaround. And it's going to cause a lot of what you're saying. A lot of people are kind of hip to what they were doing, and they're going to be on their toes, even from things like we saw what happened when people were recording their TVs with CNN, right? You saw the votes jumping and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's going to be people who just let live feeds record now, because obviously a lot of this stuff tends to get erased, so it's on us. But everyone's going to be watching everything. People will be watching at home, like you're saying. Now you're hip to them. You can't say, oh, 6 feet away. They're going to be watching at the polls. Everyone is on guard. It's going to make it 10 times harder. So they are trying other things, and I think that's actually a perfect segue into this that you shared right before the show. If I should play this, right? This is what non-citizens register in Georgia.
Yeah, so this is a group, the Oversight Project. They went to an apartment block, which is majority Hispanic and non-speaking residents. And a lot of them are illegals that have made their way into America, and they're basically working and they're waiting for their paperwork from the Biden regime. But in the meantime, because they have to get a job, they're getting driver's licenses and they're getting established. Obviously, they're being given social security numbers, and some of them are voting. All right. And they went around and asked these people. This is very brave, because I don't know how legal it is to go around and ask people. You're muted.
Yeah. It's definitely, I don't know either. I know with a lot of this sort of stuff, it's kind of a gray area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We come from a company that is dead.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's just what they found that a significant portion of them had voted already, and they were illegals. They're not citizens. So it just goes to show you that this is definitely happening. And if we're talking 14% of these people had already voted and they're non-citizens and they know that they're not allowed to vote, you can probably, extrapolate that out across the country.
Right. And I always wonder when they say the number of illegals, it was whether they throw around 10 to 20 million. Those are the numbers.
Yeah.
There almost could be more. I feel like those are very low estimates, which is kind of scary because there's only 329 million people in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good chunk. But yeah, this is fascinating.
We come from a company that is dedicated to registering Hispanic people so they can vote in upcoming elections. Are you already registered? We already voted. You already voted? Yes. Are you a citizen or?
No.
Have you already been registered or?
Yeah.
Are you a citizen or?
No.
Have you already been registered at work? Yes, we have. You've already been registered? Are you a citizen or not a citizen?
No es.
The apartment complex Elliott Norcross in Norcross, Georgia, is occupied primarily by non-citizens. We visited the complex to ask residents 2 questions. Are you a citizen, and are you registered to vote? Shockingly, 14% of respondents admitted to being non-citizens registered to vote.
Buenas, disculpe por molestar. Venimos con una organización que se dedica a registrar a la gente hispana para poder votar en las elecciones. ¿Ya la registraron a usted o?
Ya.
¿Ya? ¿Y fue en el trabajo o vinieron? ¿Vino alguien a tocar? Ok. Muchas gracias. Y oiga, ¿y usted es ciudadana o? No. ¿Ya la registraron en el trabajo o en un lado?
Bueno, sí, nos dijeron, pero...
¿Ya se registró?
Pues yo creo que sí.
¿En el trabajo?
Ajá, sí.
Ok. ¿Usted es ciudadana o no es ciudadana? No es. ¿Ya los han registrado en el trabajo ustedes?
Sí, ya.
¿Ya los registraron?
Ya.
Disculpe, es que no la oigo muy bien por el aire. ¿Ya los registraron?
Sí, ya.
¿Y usted es ciudadana o no es ciudadana?
No.
¿No es?
No.
Venimos con una compañía que se dedica a registrar a la gente hispana para poder votar en las elecciones. ¿Ustedes están registrados?
Nosotros ya votamos, tío.
¿Ya votó?
Sí.
¿Usted es ciudadana o...?
No.
¿Usted ya está registrado? ¿Se registró en el trabajo o algo así?
No. Sí.
¿Ya se registró en el trabajo? Ok. Oiga, ¿y usted es ciudadana o no es ciudadana?
Bueno, no ciudadana, estoy...
No. ¿De dónde viene usted?
De Honduras.
¿Usted ya la registraron en el trabajo o aquí han pasado a registrar o...?
Ya.
¿Ya? Ya. ¿Usted es ciudadana o no es ciudadana? ¿No es? ¿Son ciudadanos o...?
No.
Muchas gracias. Dios los bendiga.
Tú me estás diciendo que si somos ciudadanos, no. Somos ilegales. Pero estamos establecidos en este país y sin nosotros este país no valiera ver, ¿me entiendes? Somos los mejores trabajadores que puede tener Estados Unidos.
According to Migration Policy Institute, approximately 339,000 non-citizens live in Georgia. If the 14% statistic holds true statewide, over 47,000 non-citizens would be registered to vote. For context, Joe Biden won the state of Georgia by just under 12,000 votes in the 2020 election. Based on our findings, the integrity of the 2024 election is in great jeopardy.
Now, one thing I'll say about this is that this isn't replacing anything. They've been doing this since the beginning of time. So I think with a lot of the things that have been shored up, it's not like this is going to make up the difference from that. That 12,000 that he won, you best believe this was already happened. This was already propped it up to even get it that close in the beginning.
Right.
And then I believe that they brought in a lot of fraudulent mail-in ballots as well.
Certainly. And, this is definitely going to have an impact. I think that it's going to make the election closer than, perhaps it might be otherwise. But I also think that a lot of people are going to be voting for Trump and not going to be voting for Biden. Now, here's the other thing. Okay. So specifically, PJW, he says, Zach, I got trained as a poll observer in JR's district. That is exactly what they taught us. We have a hotline number to the GOP lawyers. Nobody is pushing my ass out of the way. What you need to be watching for also is the pallets of mail-in ballots, the ballot drop-offs, the 3 a.m. dumps, okay? People coming in and dropping off ballots with no chain of custody, because that's illegal too. And I sure hope that they talk to you about that stuff, because that is just as important to make sure that some Democrat in the count room isn't trying to get over you. But I guarantee that that exact same stuff that happened in 2020 is going to happen again this time around. And we have to be as vigilant as possible.
Yeah, well, for one, they're going to, if we're vigilant and we can document it all, they have way less of an excuse this time. It's going to be much harder to explain away, as they seemingly did. But also, too, it's just going to add to the pile of proof of what they're doing. Things like this oversight project where they're going around doing that. These were all born out of 2020. All of this has happened because of the 2020 election. So that's a major silver lining. And I have good hopes of what it's going to lead up to, but we have to document it the way they're documenting it. The way you're signing up to be a poll watcher is awesome.
Yeah,
signing
I'm so
up
glad
to work
hear
the
that.
polls is also awesome.
Yeah,
and I'm very much happy to see a lot of people getting involved in that way. To be honest, I need to get involved in similar ways. I know Abby has worked the polls in the past here, so I don't know. I might look into possibly getting involved in some way like that. What?
I was just saying I was asked recently.
Oh, yeah, she says she was just asked again. So we'll see about that. But any way you guys can help and get involved, it just raises the bar. Because one thing that I've noticed, I'm sure you noticed the same thing when we're looking into this over the past 4 years, is the left has a lot of activist groups whose entire being is centered around elections, going out to vote. Like this guy was caught up on, they're going straight to these complexes and trying to sign people up. And it's just, they've been doing this since the beginning of time. And a lot of it's legal, and that's really cool. But they're very involved. And I like seeing that we are also now getting very involved, because I think we were kind of sleeping on our laurels a little bit with that. Not putting any blame on us, but I just say that is one thing I've noticed, that they have a lot of institutions totally dedicated to American election work for a long time. And it's cool to see us picking up the slack in that department.
Yes, yes. Now, another thing that is likely to change in the state of Georgia, because of how mismanaged the Georgia election was in 2020, because of all the problems, and looking specifically at Fulton County with all of the various batches of ballots that were scanned and rescanned. I mean, like they made that 12,000 vote lead that Joe Biden got, that could all be attributed just to the double scanning of ballots there, essentially in Fulton County. And again, that's not going to be able to happen because Republicans are not going to get kicked out. They're going to be watching people. And then on top of that, they didn't bother to do any signature matching. So it didn't catch any of the ballots that shouldn't have even been counted. Now, as a result of that, and primarily the efforts of Garland Favorito and Voter Georgia, there is now a bipartisan movement, Republicans and Democrats, both working with the Georgia Election Commission and demanding that they go to all paper ballots rather than using Dominion voting machines. And perhaps they would probably still use the electronic talliers, but getting rid of the electronic voting machines, so then they don't have that single point of failure. Now, once that happens, it's going to be very, very important to make sure that your ballot is flawless. Okay, like no extra pen marks outside of the bubbles. You take your time. You make sure you fill in every single bubble. You don't go outside the bubble. You fill it in. You leave no empty marks. You don't check off next to it or make any other hash marks or anything. Don't write your name on it. Don't do anything like that. Don't get cute. Just fill in the bubbles. Fill in every single bubble. Double check it yourself. Make sure you know who the candidates are. Make sure that you're not just voting for someone because they're a Republican, because sometimes like county commission races or something, we vote for the entire county commission here in Flagler. All right. So I've got like 5 different county districts that I have to vote for. And so I have to make sure that I know exactly who's there, because you're going to have multiple people in each race, and you want to make sure you know who those people are. And then you're also going to have nonpartisan races where you might have, you know, two people running against each other. They don't say Republican or Democrat. It's even more important that you know who that person is. And even at the local level, it's so vitally important, because whoever you elect at the local level, they're eventually going to probably move up. They'll go up to a state level position, and then maybe they'll go up to a federal position. And if you elect a rhino at the local level, and then you're forced to keep voting for that rhino after they leave because they're the only Republican, you're gonna be putting yourself between a rock and a hard place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look in your local, I would say paper, but it's not really paper. It's digital now, but the local stations and local outlets are the best for this sort of stuff. You can see the candidates, you can see what they're running for, and just get to know your own area. It's the biggest thing you can do, especially when we're talking about judges and stuff of that nature too, who you're voting for. You can change the whole game. And to be honest, I think judges is probably the most important thing. Judges and DAs are some of the more important things to look into. But nevertheless, man, we do have what I think is going to be a fun election season. Trump-Harris is kind of starting to heat up a touch, and as Trump has said, she's worse than Biden. So it's been fun watching him starting to dig into her. I want to play this clip here because this has made me laugh. But here is Trump the other day when this was a pretty nasty town hall that they showed up for. But
yeah, this is the Black Journalists Association. It was earlier today.
Yeah. Oh, this was just today? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, today.
Like 2 days. Yeah, the way they opened was pretty nasty. And I love how he gave it to her and was like, you told me my opponent was going to be here. They're not here. You were half an hour late. But nevertheless.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But
identified as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously
Sounds a
doesn't.
total
Because she
B-word.
was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you
I
believe
think
that?
you should look into that too when you ask, continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I really
Republicans
don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady was always.
He was going to point out somebody back there.
Oh, my gosh. Incredible, dude.
I love it. I love it. He's so funny. And all of a sudden, she's black.
I saw a post, I think it might have been today, where again, the main narrative, the talking point amongst leftists is how scared Trump is to debate Kamala, and that she's going to wipe the floor with him. He can't handle once she gets in the debate stage. She can't talk. She can't do anything off teleprompter. She has no idea what she's talking about. Anytime someone asks her about an issue, she just talks about generalized talking points, and then she'll say what the result's going to be. Like, she won't say how they're going to fix something. She'll just say, we're going to fix this for the poor, and we're going to do this for the poor, and no idea on how actually to do any of it. And it's going to be a masterclass when they get together and just showing Trump actually talking about real things and her giving empty rhetoric and having no chance to go off script. He's going to destroy her.
So hold on. Let me pull this up. This is a clip from Kamala Harris awkward moments. I'd love to play this.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me share it. That's you. Here's me. I forgot to do this. Okay.
Oh yeah. She always repeats everything. She does this for everything. That's her stall technique.
Break it down in layman's terms for people who don't understand what's going on and how can this directly affect the people of the United States.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia.
We campaign with the plan. Uppercase T, uppercase P. The plan.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today. But I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
I said I'm going to go to the border. And
When are you going to the border, Vice President?
The administration has asked. I'm not finished.
We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
I'm being clear with you right now.
Yes, okay.
And so if you're interested, I'll continue to be clear. There are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. We are doing it.
But should we have done it sooner?
We are doing it.
What do you see as the biggest national security challenge confronting the U.S.? What is the thing that worries you and keeps you up at night?
Frankly, one of them is our democracy.
You don't feel misused or underused?
No, I don't. When folks vote, they order what they want, and in this case, they got what they asked for. I went off script a little bit.
Oh, my God. She's an empty vessel.
That's a presidential candidate, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely insane. I got to stand up. I'm getting heated.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to talk about our really awesome sponsor for today, because I don't even know how to follow that. She's the worst.
Pull up something that we care about.
Yes, this is something definitely care about. Everybody has been talking about these new weight loss injections lately, and they've had really good results. That's why everyone talks about them. But the way they work is by lowering the blood sugar and reducing appetite. The only problem is they're expensive. No one really wants to go to their physician to get weekly shots either. So that's why doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean, and the results are remarkable. The study ingredients in Lean have been shown to also lower your blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb your appetite and cravings. So less hunger, more burning fat, exactly what you want in diet. But listen, guys, Lean, it's not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. Doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created Lean for frustrated dieters looking to lose 10 pounds or even more. So if that sounds like you, then we can get you started with 15% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Visit takelean.com and enter promo code ALTERED15 for your 15% discount. That's takelean.com, promo code ALTERED15. And you know, everyone wants to shed a couple extra pounds. I know I do. To get ready, especially getting ready for GART. Nothing better to go in there with some new snazzy digs that didn't fit a couple months ago. So Lean, Feel the Greens Lean, guys. Definitely check it out.
Brad, I don't mean to call you out, but weren't you just telling me before the show that you've actually been taking this product?
Yes, I like this product, and it has been helping a lot. And combined with diet and exercise, I hope to look a little sharper for this GART, South Dakota. So
you're not going to give a specific testimony. Come on, man. This is actually pretty awesome. I mean, I just got to be honest with you. It's okay. Well, if you don't want to say it, you don't want to say it.
I'm down 40 pounds.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. 40 pounds. That's incredible, dude. I mean, like, honestly, you should be bragging for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, part of me has not wanted to say anything. I've been doing it since about April, and then part of me is like wants to be like, "Whoa, guys, all my clothes fit again. It's awesome." But so I've been waiting. Hopefully, I'm going to be down even more. But I'm pretty psyched at where I'm at right now, man. It feels good.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's very awesome.
Yes. But with that being said, Zach, I have. Speaking to what Trump was saying about all of a sudden Kamala's black now, we do have this, and this is an entire CNN segment from 2020 on Kamala being Indian.
My mother, who raised me and my sister, was a proud woman. She was a brown woman. She was a woman with a heavy accent.
And her mother, Shamla Gopalan, was also the biggest influence in Kamala Harris's life.
The answer is absolutely yes, Joe.
After the big announcement, Harris's sister wrote in a Twitter post, "You can't know who Kamala Harris is without knowing who our mother was." In 1958, a precocious 19-year-old Indian, Gopalan traveled thousands of miles from her home and family to pursue a doctorate in nutrition and endocrinology in America. She soon became an active civil rights crusader while studying at UC Berkeley.
But once she went there, she almost felt free. And she took part in politics. She used to bring a whole series of literature, leftist literature from Karl Popper's, he was a great philosopher.
In her book, Harris says, "There is no title or honor on earth I'll treasure more than to say I am Shamla Gopalan Harris's daughter." Harris's visits to India with her mother kept her connected to her roots. Her grandfather, who had strong views on humanitarian issues, worked closely with officials to reallocate refugees. Their conversations had a strong influence on her.
Those walks along the beach in India really planted something in my mind and created a commitment in me before I even realized it that has led me to where I am today.
Harris's maternal uncle, Gopalan Balachandran, who lives in Delhi, tells us how the senator turns to her Amma, which means mother in Tamil, for guidance even after her death.
I don't have to tell her, make your mother proud. She said, what are you telling me? Everything that I do, I ask myself, would Amma approve of this?
Kamla in Hindi means lotus flower and is an important symbol in Indian culture, rooted deep in the bottom of the river. Very similar to Harris's Indian identity, which she wears on her sleeve. There's no doubt that
I love how they got someone with an Indian accent to do this segment.
When she first started talking, I was like, what is she saying? I couldn't understand her. But either way, eventually I understood that it was an announcer with an Indian accent, and there was a reason they did that, because Kamala Harris identified as an Indian American until, of course, very recently when she changed that identity and she became black. Now it's like she's never heard of Indian culture or Indian food. She couldn't even tell you what Kamala means.
It's whatever they need to be at the time. Obviously, they have done studies, I'm sure, and they say it could have more impact if you play up your black heritage, but she hasn't played it up the whole time. She's always played up her Indian roots and totally leaned on that. And I got to tell you, there's a place in New Jersey, Edison, New Jersey. It's very Hindu Indian. And I remember that Trump actually did a rally in New Jersey specifically for that community, I think in 2016, because apparently they lean very much towards conservatism. So
yes,
maybe they had seen that this was a dead end. They tried this and didn't really gain too much traction. So now they're going with the old black card.
Well, I mean, in the 2020 primary, she only received like 894 votes. So I think it's safe to say it went absolutely nowhere with anyone. Kamala Harris is probably the least voted candidate to ever run for president on a major ticket.
This is so great. It's so great that she has no votes, right? Like you're saying, she next to nothing, the least to ever be on a presidential candidate ticket. And this is the party who keeps claiming Trump's going to be the end of democracy. They're putting up a candidate who wasn't voted for by anyone.
Yeah, nothing democratic about it.
Right. So it's quite interesting. Interesting times we live in.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sad. So, they had an election in Arizona yesterday, the the primaries in Arizona. And in Maricopa County, Stephen Richer was voted out. So he's going to be the Maricopa County recorder up until, I guess, January, when the next one signed in. But So Maricopa County is still going to be under the thumb of a disastrous Rhino administration for this upcoming election. And obviously that doesn't bode well. Stephen Richer has been, terrible since taking over for Adrian Fontes 4 years ago. And the new guy that won the primary, he seems better than Richer, but he refuses to openly address election fraud by calling it election fraud, because I mean, he was giving a speech. He was doing like a town hall, and everybody was like, what are you going to do about election fraud? He was like, what are you going to focus on? And he's like, listen, he was like, I'm only going to say so much, because as soon as I do, the mainstream media is going to latch onto it. And that's all they'll say, is that he's an election denier. He was like, I want to avoid that. Now that could be a smart play, or it could be a ploy to get around the the care and the worry of the electorate. But he's obviously not Stephen Richer, and people hate Stephen Richer. So I think it's likely, I think it's likely that he will be the next county recorder, but it remains to be seen exactly how he's going to handle this situation.
Well, listen, I'm all about being smart about things, right? If he's just doing it, like you said, to be tactical and smart, I can totally see that. And sometimes I think that is the smart move. I know everyone wants every candidate to just go straight out and go full on F the Illuminati, talk about everything we've been talking about, just straight up in the cameras in front of Congress. That sounds nice on paper. And especially even Trump. They want Trump to be full on, kind of the way he almost is right now, but they wanted that back in 2017. But you have to be smart about things sometimes. So I can understand that. It's kind of like with red pilling. I've always said it's in the language. If you know someone has different triggers, you want to work around that. Like there are a lot of people where you say the Illuminati, for instance, that's a trigger. That's just been made into like a goofy joke pretty much in the culture. So you say Illuminati, cabal, deep state. Deep state's another one that they're starting to make into almost a right-wing conspiracy word. But if you use the word, say, oligarch, that's a word Bernie Sanders used to use. That's something that can say the same thing. They're all talking about the same thing. Just group of high-end people who have a lot of money and they own a lot of companies and they have a lot of influence, and they wield it in such a way that kind of keeps society locked down. So you're just changing the terminology. I don't mind that. I think I could see this guy hopefully being okay, even though he's not going to openly say it. What do you say? He just doesn't want to put the exact wording out there, or he just doesn't want to address it at all. With the
I think he doesn't want to address it in the way that people want him to address it.
Okay.
So, he's basically said that he's going to check everything and, make it fair, fix the problems. But,
okay. So he might want to do it and just not put a target on his face before he even gets into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's it. So Carrie Lake also won her primary. Last I checked, Abe Hamada was winning against Blake Masters, and it looks like he did. He got about 4,000 more votes than Blake Masters. Now, that was a weird one because President Trump had initially endorsed Abe Hamada, but then he also endorsed Blake Masters.
Blake Masters doesn't seem so bad. I was looking into him. I mean, unless things have happened since, but I remember in the last primaries, I remember thinking he seemed okay. He was running for Senate, right?
Yeah. So he was running for Senate. Hamada was running for AG, and they both had their election stolen from them along with Carrie Lake. Now, they both ran for the same House district, District 8, and Hamada is a little bit worse on paper, like on abortion specifically. Okay. Masters was like, total, I hate abortion. I don't want abortion. Hamada was basically like, I'm against abortion, but, I'm not going to tell anybody that they can't get an abortion, basically.
Okay. Right.
But, so it remains to be seen what's going to happen when they get to the general election. It's kind of they are running for a Republican that's been term limited. So likely Abe Hamada will be the new member of the House after this. It's interesting.
Wait, term limit. There's no term limits in the House, right? Or
oh no. Okay, I'm sorry. She just decided not to run again.
Okay, all right.
Pardon me.
I wish you got me. I was half excited for a second. I was like, wait, something happened.
Sorry. I'm just looking at figures and I'm just talking. There's also there's a couple of different people there, obviously in Arizona. Andy Biggs, he wasn't running against anybody. He did rather well because he got all the votes. Paul Gosar as well. He's doing well.
Nice.
Let me see. A guy that I interviewed by the name of Jeff Zink, he won his primary. This was U.S. Rep District. That
doesn't ring a bell. Is he new to the?
No, he's been around. He ran in the last election too. Lost in the last one. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know who is currently the representative for Arizona District 3. And actually, I'm going to go up here to the Democrat primary results. There are so many people that were on the ballot in just Maricopa County. I've never seen this many people. Maricopa is huge.
Yeah.
County supervisor. Okay, I can go all the way back up to the top. District 3. Okay, so there were
that's unsurprising.
Quite a few more Democrats voted in the primary than Republicans. So this might be a Democrat district, but we'll see. About 20,000 votes versus 16,000 votes, I think, for Republicans.
Okay.
But, people may have just skipped the primary. I wish that everybody would vote in every election. Just do it. Just do it.
Primaries to me are super important. And I know the first round was a lot of, get as many Republicans in. But then now I feel like we're at the time where we have to get the right Republicans in. Or just America first people. Just people who are America first. And that's where the primaries are super important. I know you could even take it back. I remember Ash was kind of pushing back on me in one of the panels one time when I was talking about the primaries. She was like, well, actually it's I think the committee, right, where they even just pick the different people who are going to run for the primaries. So that's as well. But at the very least, they're typically, if you look into most primaries, there tends to be an America first candidate in almost every spot.
Yeah.
So just simply identifying them and getting the word out. We have the ears right now of the whole community. So it can be very powerful.
Yes. But I mean, she isn't wrong. I mean, if you can get a committeeman assignment and you will be the one who will essentially be helping to elevate certain people and allowing other people to get on the ballot. And you also end up kind of controlling the line of thought for the party. I mean, what are people going to focus on? What's going to be the platforms that you're going to be focusing on? That is vitally important.
Imagine if we got all Great Awakening committeemen, like everyone, from our whole community here online, we all just became committeemen everywhere.
I mean, we're still at like a 50% vacancy rate. It's slightly less than 50% now, but across the country. So there is ample room for Republicans to get committee assignments. And I've been telling people to do it for years, and many people have. I've gotten word from a lot of people who said, listening to it, hearing about it on your show, the precinctstrategy.com. If you want to know how to become a committeeman, go to precinctstrategy.com. It's a little bit different in every single state. They might not call it a precinct committeeman. They might call it something else, but every single precinct has a committee assignment, multiple committee assignments for each party. And you might find that there is a vacancy. You might find that, you can run against somebody who is a rhino. And a lot of times these people are just used to being installed. I mean, because people don't do it. This is not something that the party pushes, but we need to, because that's the way you get people involved.
Without a doubt, dude. Getting involved and taking back all this stuff is just an epic way to come back around. It's the easiest thing we can do. It's one of the greatest things, the reasons why I think General Flynn's attacked so much, because obviously he's been preaching this now for a number of years, that local impact. Local action is national impact. Everyone just getting familiar with your town, getting familiar with things like that, how to be a precinct committeeman, or at the very least, like we were talking about earlier, just getting familiarized with the candidates, with the local candidates that are going to be on the ticket come in November. This is all a massive turnaround from what we're used to. At least for me, I can only speak for myself. I'd only know the big names on the ticket, and I'd say, oh, me like McCain this round because Fox News told me that he's not Obama. And then I'd vote that, and I'd know next to nothing about McCain. I knew next to nothing about Obama other than he seemed shady. But so I was right about Obama, but it was pretty much a guess. And now we're all very informed, and that is the ultimate way to move forward. That's why no matter what happens, we're going to be okay, because we're all so much more informed now. Even their victories are fleeting because we're just constantly on them. We're on everything they're doing, everything they're passing, everything they're talking about, all the BS lies that are coming out of their mouths. We're calling them out every single day. All the things on our own side, we're very much more informed about our own candidates and everything of the BS that's coming out on our own side. And that's unstoppable. And now that that's set in place, the future is going to get brighter and brighter.
I agree. We're moving into a new era, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sure you've seen lots of talk about the Olympics and what's been happening over there. So apparently it is not going well for them. And the Olympic Stadium is virtually empty. And what they're doing, they're basically having to give tickets away. Like they're going up to tourists on the street and being like, you know, you want a ticket to the Olympics? It's only 12 pounds or, 12 francs or whatever it is. I mean, do you remember when we were kids? Like people were paying like thousands of dollars to get a ticket to the Olympics, like to see the shot
Olympics.
put.
I remember.
To see the shot put or like people jumping over poles and stuff. Now it's like they can't get anybody to show up.
Yeah. Dude, it's insane, man. I always loved the Olympics. I used to look forward to it every 4 years. When I heard it always one of those things that sneaks up on you, right? You're not even thinking about it, and then someone says, I was talking about the Olympics, say in like February, and you go, oh, the Olympics are this year? At least for me anyway. And I had that same reaction. I was looking forward to them. I wasn't going to necessarily be glued to my screen, but it was something I was going to pay attention to. And it was just such a bummer, dude. Just that to be attacked, the fact that all the big name everythings of the world who are putting on any type of big show ceremony anywhere for any event effing hate everything about me and my friends and family, it's just such a bummer. I would totally love to be enjoying the Olympics right now. I haven't watched 1 second of them. And I don't blame people for not going. I don't care how many euros they're saying it is. They probably give them away for free. People just don't want to be a part of it. Dude, France is a highly Catholic country. I know they've had Muslims coming in a lot, but it's a very religious base of Christianity and Catholicism there. So specifically, the French, I don't find anything surprising about them not going to see the Olympics, go watch them in person.
No. I can't remember the last time I watched the Olympics, to be quite honest with you. I mean, like, I'm not a sports fan as it is, but like, there's no enthusiasm about it. Just, everything is, that it's just going to be some woke piece of garbage and they're going to be stuffing ideology down your throat. I did see, this isn't really about the Olympics, but it's about France. Candace Owens was on Piers Morgan, and they were arguing about whether or not Brigitte Macron was a man, like whether she was a transgender.
Who knows?
And here's the thing, officially, Brigitte Macron has a brother, and the name that they have associated with Brigitte Macron, it's like Michael or something like that. That's her brother, and so that's what they've said. Now, here's the thing, and I guess I didn't realize this because I didn't bother to look into it. Is that a
requirement of being a Mohap, having a brother named Michael?
I suppose so. But so you've got no photographs of Brigitte Macron when she was a kid. but you've got photographs, I guess, of her brother when he was a kid, which ostensibly it's her as a young man and then her as an adult woman. And either way, you have Macron. Macron was her student and she was his teacher, and she was an adult, like 20 years older than him.
Super inappropriate.
Totally inappropriate. I mean, I guess the age of consent is a little younger in France, but even still, like, that's like a disgusting sort of dynamic. Like, should never be okay. I don't care if you're in, some state where it's 14 or something like that. I mean, it's like child bride marriages may be legal in India, but the idea of marrying a 10-year-old disgusts me, right?
Yeah, she was an adult and he was a kid in her care at some point. The end. It's just automatically negates, in my opinion, anything.
So the reason Candace Owens is so convinced that Brigitte Macron is actually a man is, that what I just mentioned, there's no photographs of her as a child. But I guess that a group of French journalists worked on this. They tried to debunk it, and they worked on it for years. And that was the conclusion they came to, because they couldn't find anything to substantiate the rumor that she was a natural-born woman.
Oh my God, dude. I mean, a lot of times the most compelling evidence lies in someone going to debunk something and coming out going, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything true to it, but I saw that clip today, and it just caught my attention. And yes, I thought the same thing. Oh, a brother named Michael. Like, what are the chances?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know. She could just be a handsome woman, Zach. Not a looker. But she's so much older than him too, so that could be maybe showing. It's hard to tell. I've seen cases. You ever see there's accounts, especially on YouTube, where every single woman that comes into the political sphere is actually a man, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't know. I don't think that many of them are, but I do think some of them are. I am fully convinced Michelle Obama is. And listen, that's not even necessarily a diss. To each his own, but nevertheless, there are so many things that point to Michelle Obama. The clip on Ellen where she's dancing, and dude, something's in her pants, okay? Something. I heard someone say, oh, that might be a pad, a maxi pad. Well, she's wearing white pants on national TV and dancing. Pretty sure if it was that time of the month, I'm not a girl, you would at least put on different color pants. So I'm not sure about that, but her hammer seems to be swinging. It's the most obvious video ever. There's another one. You saw the one where she's coming down the steps out of the building, right? She literally adjusts herself.
I have.
That's a guy thing. Every guy has been like, hope no one's looking, and then a quick adjustment. It just happens sometimes.
It's true.
Right? There's that. Barack Obama calls her Michael twice. And one time he's talking to Admiral Mullen, Michael. And there were people who were saying, well, it's Admiral Michael Mullen. He's talking to him. He goes, no. But no, if you look back at it, he sets Admiral Mullen, Michael, and I. He addresses Admiral Mullen. So he's not talking about him. The other one, where he's in the garden, he says, well, Michelle is mad at me. No one calls. I'm sorry, dude. God bless you if you're married to an actual Michelle and you accidentally call her Michael. I don't want to be a fly on the wall of your house that night, because that's probably going to be hell to pay. Like, I'm never going to accidentally call Abby Adam. Like, my Abby is mad at me. This just doesn't happen. There's no way for that to happen unless that's her actual name. So there's all that. Then Joan Rivers, who was never one to mince words, literally said everyone knows she's a tranny. And the way she said it, it didn't sound like she was being a jerk. Sounded like it was an actual thing that a lot of people knew behind the scenes. And then curiously, during a routine surgery not so long after that statement, she dies.
Yep.
During the surgery. It's Joan Rivers. So
just a small coincidence.
If I wanted to pull out a couple examples of why I think Michelle Obama has a penis.
I mean, so I had Joel Gilbert on the show this weekend, and he did The Dreams from My Real Father, and then he just did a movie about Michelle Obama too. And he's convinced that Michelle Obama is a woman. And I asked him, I was like, well, you know, I was like, how many times have you called your wife by a man's name? Like I said, this exactly what you said.
That's great. I love it.
And he said the Michael Mullen thing, you know, and he was convinced, you know, it didn't matter. And but yes, so I don't know. And the Joan Rivers things he thinks was a joke, but I mean, it felt pretty real to me. And also the fact that she was murdered like almost immediately thereafter, I just think that's a little too close for comfort.
It's too on the nose, man.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, listen, anything's possible. She could be a woman. Some of the pictures that purport to be her as a child, they look real enough. I don't know. Maybe they could be real, but I've never seen a picture of her pregnant. That's for one.
No.
And then all the things I just mentioned. Those are things that should be taken in consideration. At very least, you can't be mad at me for at least asking the question. That's too many instances. It's like about 5 vector points right there. It's something that should be noted.
Yeah, if I called Lisa Larry on the air, like that would just people would no, that's
thoughts
weird.
and prayers. Zach.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh gosh.
You know, and it's kind of crazy. I'm as we're talking, I'm sitting here looking at all of these photos of Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron together, and like she was always as old as she looks right now. Like she, like I was thinking, you know, I mean, there's one photo of her that's supposed to be her as a little girl. I don't know. I mean, you know, that's presented. That's the only one. Then there is one picture here. I'll just share my screen. One picture of her where she is a younger woman. Oh gosh, where is it? That's not it. I have to do this way. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's, I guess, her as a younger woman.
Okay.
You know, there is the picture of her as a little girl, but like, you know, here she is right there at the time that she was Emmanuel's teacher. Here's another one. I guess that's him. I mean, he's like obviously a teen boy right there. So like, it really doesn't matter either way. You know, she's a degenerate for sleeping with her student, but
right. Totally.
Okay. Oh no. Look at that. Okay. So that is got to be somebody she's related to, or maybe is that supposed to be one of their kids? I don't know. They definitely look alike, but this picture, that can't be her. Her teeth are completely different. Maybe she's got new teeth. I don't know. Maybe she's got Joe Biden dentures. I don't know.
It's not out of the question, I guess.
Certainly not out of the question. But, you know, it's a weird situation all the way around.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation with her to make a... I haven't seen any compelling evidence. I'm not saying it's out there. He looks like, you know, there's a dude from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Andy Samberg. Andy Samberg.
There you go. Looks like it could be his cousin.
That's too funny. Yeah. So I don't know. The jury's out as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Not making it.
Who knows this age? I mean, I certainly wouldn't. I mean, I just wouldn't count it out.
She's also suing people. Like she actually, like some people made like a documentary about it or something. And really? she sued them and won in French court.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's you don't want to be getting sued by the wife of the president.
I'd like to believe in America, freedom of speech, but I don't know with that Alex Jones case.
That's right.
That was interesting. I don't understand how that's a legal decision, but you know.
I don't know. But on that note, Sandy Hook totally happened.
Yes. Sandy Hook. Oh my God.
Just want to go on record. Robbie Parker was really distraught.
Yes, guys. That was nervous laughter. Robbie Parker. He was totally not chuckling it up.
It was the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
That is weird. That is totally weird. Like, okay, sure thing, guy.
My name's Robbie Parker. Because I'm really upset about what just happened. Hang on. I want to see if that's still on YouTube. Robbie Parker.
The old Duper's Delight.
Oh, yes.
Duper's
Delight. Duper's Delight. Okay. Yes. Hang on. We're going to watch Robbie Parker. Oh, they cut off the very front. They cut off him. No, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Stop and present. There we go. Tell us what it's about, Robbie.
Yeah, LOA takes the breath.
So, yeah.
Look at all this laughing out of my system.
Oh, God. There he is 10 years ago. I've never actually seen any other. Oh, my God. There he is testifying against Alex Jones.
He testified against Alex Jones?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I have the clip, by the way. I just found it.
Oh, good. Okay, you go ahead and throw it on there because...
let me see if I could share. Stop screen.
I was looking for it, LKW Cross. I turned it off because it didn't show this part right here. Brad found it, though. You have no audio on there, though.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if it'll share the audio like this because I'm just sharing. Or you know what I'll do? Hold on, I'll put it as a tab in my browser. I'll do it like that.
Okay. And Brad has the actual video clip on his computer. So unfortunately, you're just going to have to clip our show if you want to save it.
It's funny. I tell everyone, everything I save, well, maybe not in the very beginning, for a long time now, I take 2 seconds and I write the description and I write a couple keywords after it because you know how many times now I just go into my thing, I type in, right now I just searched Parker and then it came up.
See, that's great. I always try to do that, but I rarely ever do.
Yeah, I used to not, but it's helped me so much now.
I remember at Virginia Tech, when I went out there, parents, loved ones of slain young people wanted to remember their sons and their daughters, and as a result, they spoke and made a statement. So we'll see if Robbie Parker, I assume he's going to come out to the microphones now and make a statement. Looks like the family is there, and they're getting ready to make to come to the microphone. So we'll listen in.
Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker.
Right into cry mode.
Robbie, let me just give you a little tip for next time. Keep your eyes open for like a good 60 seconds before you walk out on stage. Okay. And then by the time you reach the microphone, tears will already be falling from your eyes. And then your nose will be running naturally. You start sniffling. You do one of those. Maybe you look down, double over. It'll be real believable. You're muted, Brad.
Oh, sorry. I said Crisis Acting School 101. It's very serious there, Robbie. But, oh my gosh. Classic. That's one of the classics. There's a whole bunch of weird things in San Diego. I still, I'm of the mindset that the majority of these, quote, false flags, they are killing people. So I don't know with that particular one. Definitely. I haven't looked too much into Sandy Hook, but I think people, obviously, the big misconstrued that when people say false flag, it's like it didn't exist. It existed. We just don't think it was the whatever lone gunman they say it was.
Well, yeah.
Typically, we think maybe they put on a thing and then had a patsy, which they used to elicit whatever they wanted to do afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a pre-planned and orchestrated event that can very easily combine theatrics with real death. Think about the Gulf of Tonkin. Okay, like I mean, they shot their own ship. All right, I mean, like dudes died, certainly got injured. All right, and then they just used it as a pretense to go into Vietnam. All right, you know, that was a false flag. It was like, you know, friendly on friendly action basically, and yeah, just because something's a false flag doesn't mean that it's totally fake. Sandy Hook, I mean, I've heard it said that school had been closed and was scheduled for demolition. And like,
that's interesting. Yes. I've also seen the pictures, right, of it's like a grown-up version of each kid, and they do match pretty well.
Yep.
So who knows, man? It's all very crazy. It's a crazy world. It's funny that we live in a world where you even have to ask such questions. The fact that they're on record doing so much awful crap over the years that it's even on the table. These are things that you would have never even thought in 100 years growing up that your government could do. But especially when you look at the things they've done overseas, messing with other countries and regime change and messing with people and making literal propagandas for the country and propping up different rebel groups to take out other groups, and then 10 years later we're fighting that same rebel group with all of our own weapons. It's nuts. So I wouldn't put them making up a situation or killing a couple kids to maybe put through gun control.
Absolutely.
One bit.
Yeah. And it's always like a big clue when it's a lone gunman, but then there's another shooter that's seen running off through the woods wearing all black and tactical gear. Or when they say that the gunman only had one AR-15 rifle and then used it to kill all the kids, but then they leave that rifle in the trunk. It's not even with them inside the building. That's always strange when that happens. Or when
probably a definite lead there, I think.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
well, hey,
speaking of, we'll change this world, right? I think we're working towards it.
I certainly hope so. Listen, speaking of CIA coups, I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on what's happening in Venezuela. There's a video that I sent over, Maduro. It's funny because yesterday I was just saying, like, obviously Venezuela, the situation is awful. It's a communist regime. This wouldn't be the first time that they had used election fraud by the government to keep Maduro installed. Also, they did the same thing with Chavez. They were responsible for the creation of Smartmatic, allegedly, and then that was exported north, and then that was rolled out into all of these electronic voting machine systems, and that's being used to steal elections here in America. And now in Venezuela, they're stealing elections again. But I don't know anything about the opposition. I don't know who those people are. I don't follow Venezuelan politics. It was quite clear that Maduro didn't want any real opposition candidates. There were like 3 other candidates that they banned from actually running. But he's actually saying that it's a CIA coup. And WikiLeaks also posted something saying that the exit polling company that reported that 66% of Venezuelans voted for the opposition and not for Maduro is actually connected to the CIA.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. Now, here's the thing. Both things could be true. Maduro could be a communist dictator, all right? And election fraud could have easily been used at any point there. But the CIA could also be trying to stage a coup and an overthrow of that dictator fascist government, which means that they've just tired of Maduro. They think he's no longer useful, and they just want to put somebody else in there that has more of a sheen of democracy and will come in and promise the people that things are going to change. But then at the same time, they're just going to be at the back door handing off all the money to the CIA or taking their marching orders and doing it with a sort of softer tyranny.
Right, exactly. And fighting communism has been their in to just run shot over the whole entire world for the longest time. And believe me, no one hates communism more than me and Zach, but it's a little interesting that that's always gotta fight another communist, guys, and then they go tear up a whole country and install a non-communist that winds up doing who knows what over the next however many years. A lot of times they just wind up being our next ultimate enemy. So
Yep.
But this is interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna play this here. This is nuts.
Hold on, pause it. I'm going to read it because what if we got people watching who don't speak Spanish? All right, so
yes.
So yeah, so make it big again, rewind it. He says the North Americans put a smile on their diplomatic face of deception, but behind they carry a dagger. And if you believe their smile, if you get careless, they turn around and stab you. I think that's what just happened. They have acted for almost 200 years. Assassinating presidents, assassinating leaders in the world, assassinating presidents of the USA. John F. Kennedy, who killed him?
Wow.
The system, proven. They created what is now known as a false positive with a man named Oswald. This is well known, well denounced in a documentary film called JFK. Well documented. Kennedy was killed by the criminal mafia in Miami and by the CIA because he was working to end the Vietnam War and to reach an understanding with Cuba and end the blockade and aggression against Cuba. In fact, it is well known that the same day he was killed, at the same time the news was made public, November 22nd, 1963, Fidel Castro was in Veradero, in a diplomatic house, and was talking with a special envoy of President Kennedy, and was giving him 2 boxes of Havana cigars to take as a gift, because President Kennedy liked Cuban cigars. And at that moment of Fidel Castro's assistants, I think he was prime minister at the time, came in and gave him the unfortunate news. They turned on the radio and heard the news. The same day, at the same time, Fidel was receiving a special envoy to discuss a plan to normalize relations. The system killed him. It has a long history of assassinations around the world and a lot of money involved, coups. We recently condemned the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. And there's a lot of questions from those who were protecting Trump. Why did they allow the shooter to stand there? There are many doubts that have been expressed in the U.S., and now they are trying to cover that up. So that empire, accustomed to violence, to coup d'etats, prepared a scenario against Venezuela.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
It's crazy that that's coming from him, man. Yep. Him and Elon should make up. They seem to be talking about the same things. But no, Elon is not a fan.
In the end, I want normalized relations with all countries around the world. And I would hope that that could result in better living conditions, better lives, better working conditions for people of every nation. But we got to stop shipping like free money all around the world. We got to stop taking responsibility for other people's countries. I saw an interesting fact today. Out of all the billionaires in the United States, if you put all their money together, it would equal $2.5 trillion. Wow. Okay. And if you took because what they're talking about, the Democrats want to do like a 40% tax on billionaires. If you took 40% of their money, it would run the country for like 8 months.
Right, because they do what, about $4 trillion in taxes every year?
Yeah. So the problem is not that they're not getting enough taxes. The problem is that they're spending way too much damn money on things that they don't need to be spending it on. They're just wasting money. And if we hit 35 trillion from 23 trillion when President Trump left office to when Joe Biden's going to be leaving office, how fast are we going to hit 45 trillion? I mean, because the larger it gets, the larger the interest gets on that debt, and it just gets boom, 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 boom. It's going to balloon. And before we know it, we're going to be talking about a number that is double what we're looking at right now. There's no way. There's no way for it to continue. Like, we're pushing into that zone where countries get taken over by the IMF and they do a debt restructuring and they tax everybody at like 70%, like true austerity.
One of my favorite lines ever is from an old Dennis Miller stand-up. He's talking about the national debt, and he goes, you know, you hear about the national debt, we owe so much. Well, who do we even owe this money to? He goes, we owe China? F China. Who cares? Tell them to shut up. I always thought that was the best line with that, because with the national debt, especially like you're saying, we're paying the interest back, and it just came out right that they say we're paying about 75% of our taxes is now going to pay the interest to the Fed for the money. Dude, end the Fed, tell them to screw off, start printing our own money, and or just put it on a hold so it could try and stave off inflation, and just take it over ourselves. It's such a ridiculous system, and all the taxes, the fact that they collect so many taxes to begin with, yet they can't figure it out, just means that they're not qualified to play with our tax money. They play with our money. That's all they do. That's all Congress does. They send it all over the place. They send it to themselves. They fund these BS programs that the money's just going in circles. A lot of times it's just the programs titles that they give to their own friends, and it just nothing changes. So at some point, there needs to be a hard reset on the whole idea of taxes.
I think so too. And you know, also another fact, I currently employed IRS agents owe more than $50 million in back taxes. They just don't bother to pay because they're the ones who are checking. So plus, I mean, they've got a job for life. They've got a job for life. Nobody's going to come after them because they freaking work at the IRS. Right. And they just don't have to worry about much of anything at all.
This just in, IRS agents based.
Yes. Yes. Disgusting. Disgusting. All right. Well, listen, it is after 10:30, so we should go through and do the rants. I don't have the foxhole pulled up, so I don't know if you do.
Yes, I have the foxhole. Right. Oh wait, no, sorry, I have it on a different tab. Good old foxhole right here. Well, no gold pills, but just know that we love you guys over at Foxhole.
We love you, Foxhole. Yes. Pilled fam. All right. So so you go you read those because I don't have those on my screen.
Well, we got from our buddy Crane-Op. Says, much love, brothers, to the two I've known the longest, even before Badlands. Stepping away, carne asada need constant supervision. I am super jealous to hear that. Thank you, Crane-Op.
Delicious.
John W. Ryan IV says, Zach, I have no way to clear the cache in my Android app. Remember me from BC?
Yes, I do. There is a way to
go back a long time, huh?
Yeah. So there is a way to clear your cache, and it's going to be in your Android settings, and you probably have settings specifically for your browser. But go ahead and keep read that. Does this work? It worked. Yeah.
Does this work? Awesome. Then you guys got to do a Vegas cart. I agree. Vegas cart would be fun.
I agree.
John W. Ryan again. And that was Vegas deplorable. So we could see why they'd like that. John W. Ryan IV said, didn't work. Still can't rant reliable. Oh, well, sorry, bud.
Well, have you tried updating your phone? I mean, do you have the most recent up-to-date software on your phone? That might be a problem. You might want to try a different browser too. But you can just go to Google, and I mean, it's going to matter what version of Android you have on your phone, or what version. Well, you already said you have Android, so yes, it's going to matter what version of Android you have, what the settings are going to look like. I don't have Android. I've got an iPhone. So all I know is it's supposed to be there.
I am an Android guy myself, but I don't know. I've done it in the past, but yeah, if you just Google how to do it, should be able to get some sort of thing. D Carol 8 assign separate electors to deep blue cities, balance out the electors so corrupt cities can't take the whole state. Yeah, I have a bone to pick with that whole system too, because it's not fair that a big city can run all of what happens in that state, and that is typically what happens a lot of times. So,
well, I mean, it's based upon population density. I mean, that's why you have so many electors in, you know, in a dense populated area. So, I mean, like, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, you've got more people there, so they have a greater say than the people living in the outer areas. But
I just wish there was a way to separate too, because city life is so different than country life. I've lived them both.
That would make sense. Yes.
And like, I understand, right? You still want the say for the people because there are so many more people and you shouldn't be stripping them of their voice. But then if only there was a way to separate what happens, because then a lot of times things that get decided by people who live in the city who maybe what they're deciding is better for them, it's way worse out in for the people out in the country. So,
well, if they broke up electoral votes within a state rather than awarding all I mean, and they do that in a couple of states. But if they were to break up the electoral votes and, you know, certain electoral votes would be assigned to certain areas based upon population. And so therefore, if you had like conservative areas and then super liberal areas, then that perhaps might filter out a little bit more. But I mean, it's going to be based upon the rules of the party. And let's be really honest, the party is never going to agree to do that. It's set up the way that it is because they know that it works in their favor.
100%. 100%.
Oh, look at John. He's telling on himself. I'm a programmer. I should know what I'm doing. You're killing me, bro. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
Oh, my God. Sean Joe says Brad and Zach Brack. Oh, my gosh. I remember Brack as old Adult Swim style. Brick and Brack. Amazing. PJW says... Zach, I just got trained as a poll observer in JR's district. Okay, this is what you were reading before. Yes, that is definitely the way to go, man, for sure.
Good stuff, man. Proud of you, hon.
And then John says, I deleted the app and reinstalled it. Still didn't work.
Jeez, Pete. Download another browser. That's like the only thing that I can think if that is continuing on. Because when you deleted the app, it should have already deleted all of the files that were attached to it.
Yeah, true. Right.
Yeah.
Texas Jules.
Oh, wait a second. You know what? There's one more thing I never thought of. I think that Rumble limits the number of times that you can chat, like right in a row. Like there may be like a timer or something like that to stop you from spamming the chat. Maybe I'm gonna test it out.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That could definitely be it. Texas Jules says the fake news MSM's job is to convince Americans that we all think like 10% of the population and we're not buying it anymore. RIP ESA DMF. Yeah, dude, 100%. Yeah, they'll take a small idea and they just make you think, because peer pressure is the biggest motivator. That's why I think things like Facebook and before that MySpace were essential in their total liberalization of the world, because it's not just what they're pushing. Once they get a couple people, it's like you watch people peer pressure each other. You put a post on Facebook back in 2014, and if it wasn't along with the narrative, you'd have people you grew up with yelling at you like you're a stranger in the street. So very powerful. And people, now that they know what it is, it's kind of defanging it.
Oh, he says he's not using a browser. You're using the app, the Rumble app.
Dude, yeah. Do not use Rumble on the app.
Yeah.
I love Rumble. Maybe they'll work on their app eventually, but using it on the browser is a million times better.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's garbage on the app.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rumble.
Sorry, guys. Keith O'Higgins' Kamala is no empty vessel. She's what we call a prostitute with a runny nose. She's full. Keith. Amen, bro. Oh my gosh, I love it. Blue eyes, her hammer seems to be swinging. Now real real girlfriend, and my aliases are Larry and Adam. Oh my gosh, what have we done? Never, honey. Kimmel 10 or Kimmel 10. Last night on Eye of the Storm, Abs read a letter for Archbishop Vigano. Vigano was calling out the Olympics debauchery. Not surprised. And Vigano mentioned Macron and Obama being trannies. It was fantastic. Oh, you know what I did?
He did. Yeah, I saw that.
Read something like that about that.
Yeah.
Dude, maybe she is. That's freaking, who would be freaking surprised? Vigano's awesome. I wish Vigano would become Pope one day, although he's been excommunicated.
Yeah, I was going to say, now that he's been excommunicated, not bloody likely.
Maybe in a new world, who knows? The new Prue, I am ranting on Rumble app on iPhone. Wow, very cool. Sean Ryan saying he was a programmer, and then of course BJW. I think the votes for every single county should be tallied, and the electoral votes awarded based on the total votes of the counties. It would never be blue.
Exactly, which is why they won't do it.
Yeah, they know better. And then Bay Theater Thave, great show, guys. My love to Abby and Larry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Lisa. John W. Ryan says maybe they should hire him. Yeah, amen, dude.
Hey man, you can work remote. Send him an email. Like, I've got a lot of ideas about how to fix your app.
Classic, man. Well,
Awesome.
Zach, it was another fun time as always. And again, well, I guess Gart will do one more show before there, but I am also looking forward to getting the hang in Gart. This is going to be a good time.
Always, always, always. I am going to set up a raid to head on over to Devolution Power Hour. So if you guys want to go, you just got to accept the raid. Hashtag
accept it, guys. Just do it. Don't
just accept it.
And while I do that, while you do that, I'll take us out here talking about our wonderful Badlands shop.
In today's fast-paced world, peace of mind is priceless. That's where Badlands Media steps in. Preparing for life's uncertainties is about being ready for anything, right where you are. Welcome to the Badlands Media Shop. We've partnered with Patriot companies offering products that empower you to prepare for any eventuality comfortably from your home. The Badlands Media Shop has everything you need to secure your peace of mind. Browse the virtual aisles. Prepare your family for the year ahead with products you can trust from companies that share your values. Whether it's growing your own food or prepping long-term storage, protecting your family, or stocking up on emergency supplies, we've got you covered. Get prepared. Visit Badlands Media Shop at badlandsmedia.tv/shop today. Every purchase supports a freedom-loving business as well as Badlands Media. That's badlandsmedia.tv/shop. Thank you for your continued support.